Okay. So I actually got this idea from, sorry. Okay. I was actually got this from my sermon today. So I felt like it was talking a lot about with business. So this is a follow-up sermon that he did. The first one was about your sweet spot. And that was basically you're finding your business or something that you're super passionate about and you're putting your time and your energy into, and it's like what your purpose is. And so this was kind of a follow-up, and this was called the Sweet Spot 2, and it had to do the Sweet Spot 2 and dealing with sour patches. So I felt like it could really speak, since it made me really consider a lot of things, I thought it would be really good to share with you guys. Okay. So you're pursuing your path. The first thing is those who really want to pursue this, the goal is to pursue it without burning out. So all of that we're going to talk about a lot is finding balance, and everybody is going to be different in how you find balance between work and family life and other responsibilities, and then your coaching. So for me, my schedules were looking really different now than it even did a couple months ago when I was at a full-time job. And I don't have kids, so I can work at times when your kids have nap time, or your kids have soccer practice, or your kids have special bedtime and bath time and all that kind of thing, right? So our schedules are going to be different. So I can't come up with an exact schedule and post it in the group and say, this is my schedule, just follow it, because it's not going to work for you. And even though you have kids and such, so-and-so other coach has kids, and you both work full time, your schedules are still how you find your balance is still going to be different. There isn't a cookie cutter, which is what I love about this business, is that there isn't a one way fits all or one size fits all. So there isn't a cookie cutter way of finding balance. And so as frustrating as that may be, and it takes a little bit of trial and error. So you have to see, and there are times where you're really pushing for a big goal, or there's something really big, and so you may spend more time in your business, or there may be something really big going on with your family or your job or something, and so your focus is more time in that area. And so it's always going to be a little bit of a balancing act and juggling. It's never, there isn't going to always be where it's 100%, life happens, right? And so it's just like if you were running a storefront or something, you still have the rest of your regular everyday life that you're dealing with. So it's not that you're always going to be 100% total only Beachbody. It's not like we have a pause. I wish it was kind of like the Adam Sandler movie, right? Where you can just hit the button and everything else freezes, and then we could spend 5 hours on our business and then hit unpause and go about our regular life. That doesn't happen. So we're going to just figure out, talking about the battle between our sweet spot and what we really want to pursue, and how to find balance with the rest of the stuff. So it's a battle between knowing that I can make a difference in this business, but I also need to make an income. So for those who still have a full-time job, you can't just, even though I knew right after after I really started to put in time into this business, I knew this is what I want to do. I found out that this reestablished my purpose. I lost my purpose after I left teaching. I got really burnt out after I was special ed, and then I switched and did self-contained, and that really burnt me out. And it lost all my drive and all my purpose. I felt like I had no purpose anymore. And I floated from little job to job, and I was out of work for a while. And I really was just floundering, and I lost my passion for anything, and I lost my purpose. And so when coaching came in and I started to put time into it, I realized this is what I wanted to do. But at that time, I couldn't just up and quit my job, because I still have my bills that, we're not married yet. So I still have all my stuff. And even if we were, whatever. So I still have a car insurance. I still have Sally Mae knocking on my door. I still have, all my other stuff. So I couldn't just up and quit. So as much as you really want to pursue this, you have to obviously get to a point where you're close enough to making what you were making before, or where it's enough that you can get by and either work part-time or something. So the biggest mistake is coaches, when they want to go all in, you got to be wise about it. You can go all in, but you don't want to quit your job until you start to establish yourself in this business first. The thing to find balance is, it is so important for you to explain why you're passionate about coaching, why you really believe in this business, to your family or to your friends or whomever is in your really close circle, because they're the ones, especially if it's impacting them on a daily basis. So I live with Ryan, and so we are still trying to figure that out, but there are plenty of times where he's studying for his CPA exam all the time. So it's perfect because he's already on his computer. I can have extra time on my computer. And then there are times where he takes my phone away from me and we're going to watch this show, or we're going to have date night or whatever. And so it's finding that balance, and it's okay to unplug. And that's why I say that everybody's got to figure out what their business hours are. And so if you're super busy, if you have time in the morning and you have a little bit of time in the afternoon and a little bit of time at night, and those are your designated times that you work, and then the rest of the time you're focused then on spending quality time with your kids, spending one-on-one time with your spouse or your significant other, spending your family time or at your job or whatever. But it is really key to have those conversations with them, because they need to support you and they need to know why. So for the longest time, our arguments were always, I'm addicted to Facebook. Well, Facebook makes me my biggest amount of money because I run my business off my phone. So once I started to really explain all that to him, and once he started to see, okay, my pay was increasing, my adding coaches to my team, blah, 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 blah. So the reason I'm responding to this message is because I'm signing this coach up, or I'm getting this challenge pack sold or whatever. So then I started to realize, okay, I'm not ignoring him and being on Facebook all the time, or that I run my business off social media, right? So it does look like to the outside, you're just on social media and you're calling it your job, but that's what I'm doing. So I had to take that time to explain, because you can't just assume that they understand. So having these little conversations is key. So explaining to your families why you're coaching, what are you working for, and figuring out a balanced plan. So maybe you say, okay, from 5:30 or from 6 o'clock until 8:30, my phone is off, my computer is off, and it is family time. So it's dinner. If you have kids, it's bath and bed. Maybe it's just dinner and you guys connecting, you and your spouse or significant other, or whomever, about your day. So how was his day at work? Well, blah, blah, blah. And that's your time to reconnect. Go for a walk, whatever. Have a glass of wine, those kinds of things. And then say, okay, from 8:30 to 9 or 8:30 to 9:30, I'm going to get back on my thing. I'm going to respond to any messages. Maybe I'm going to make a nighttime post and whatever, but I'm not going to stay on forever. And, because then if you have to get up for work in the morning or whatever. So figuring out your plan and getting them involved, because this is going to affect them. If you really want this to grow into something, then obviously, he knows that I want to grow this business. I want to grow this income for our future family. So he has to be, that's a part of him. And you guys know that he's one of my discount coaches on my other leg, and a couple of you are underneath him. He just saves money in Shakeology. He does nothing in terms of working the business, but he supports me. And when he gets a little extra income coming in, when he gets that check, not as frequent as my checks or whatever, he's happy. So, but we've had to establish that. So each person, you're going to have to figure it out, and figure out that balance, but keep them involved. And even your kids, I love to see coaches who post about, their kids are helping them put together little care packages for their challenge groups or for their new coaches. Their kids understand what they do. They're, as they're a little bit older, if you have really, really young, they're not maybe going to know that you're helping other people get healthy. And you don't have to go into super detail with your kids, but kids are really a lot smarter than we give them credit for, and they pick up on a lot more. And so, I mean, if you just know that you're helping people be healthier, kids get that. So, and then they think it's really cool and they want to be a part of it, you know, or get your kids in your fitness videos. A couple of you have done that, which Melissa, when her son photobombed her video, was really funny. So like, you know what I mean? So kids like it. So get them involved. Then they don't really feel like mommy's on the phone or whatever. So having that conversation, getting them involved and stuff is key to helping you figure out your balance. And then again, it's the importance of teaching your team so that you're not always there either picking up the slack or you're trying to run it all or do it all. And this is why we do the new coach training. And this is why we have you in different coaching groups, is so that if we aren't accessible 24/7, you guys are independent and can find answers on your own. You've got the FAQs in the Coach Online office. You have all the team, you know, Team Mag, Team Powerhouse, Crystal's group, Crushing It Crew. You have the new name Coach Success page, and you can just ask a bunch of questions over there. You have file sections. So also teaching your team. And then if you do set down very, you know, some coaches have very strict business hours and they tell their team that, and they're like, you can message me at 3:00, but I probably won't get back to you until either 9:00 at night or the following morning when they're on their to-do list, their time slot to follow up with messages or follow up with their team, their coaches, is this time slot. And their coaches know that and respect it. And it's okay if that's how you want to set up your business. So again, it's figuring out your balance. It's figuring out what works for you. And then, you know, and then teaching that to your team. I kind of am like pretty much all accessible right now for the most part. So I love to be right at, you know, when you guys have questions and stuff, but it doesn't work for everybody that way. And again, if our family situation was a little bit different, I probably couldn't be that accessible. So I just do what I can for right now. But again, if our situation changed, then my schedule and my response time would change too. Okay, so some of our perceived roadblocks that we have. So we sometimes think that our family or friendships are our roadblocks. And so when we get super focused in on wanting to work our business, or we're focused in on this goal, or putting a lot of time in, because especially new coaches, you do put a lot more investment and time and energy in upfront than what you see income-wise. But then it pays off in the afterwards. So I am proof of this, right? I tell you guys all the time, I was not one of those coaches that hit the ground running and took off. I didn't. My first month was good, and then it was a very slow decline after that for a really long time. But I planted a lot of seeds, and I put in a lot of time and energy and effort. And I just loved doing this business regardless if I ever made money, because I knew I was helping people. I always gave help and free advice and whatnot. And so I knew I was making a difference regardless. But I had to also then prove to somebody else that I could make this into a legit business, because otherwise I needed to get the rest of my life in gear and find a different, better other job to find some income. So, and stop complaining that I disliked my other job because I couldn't do this full time yet. So sometimes we feel like if we could just like put our family to the side for a while and didn't have to worry about the day-to-day stuff that we have to deal with and taking care of our family, and we could just focus on our business, then we were like, oh, we feel like we could be more successful, right? Same thing if you have friendships and other relationships that take time from us so that it's less time that you're putting in at your business. So if you have kids, obviously they take up a lot of your time, and that just means that during that time, you're not working your business. So sometimes we feel like friendships and family are our roadblocks, but they're really not, right? So we are blessed to have them. And this is where it's finding out that balance and picking when you're working which thing. And sometimes even with our regular jobs, you see people all the time, right? And these are the people that we're trying to help, that they put their health and well-being on the back burner. So they put so much time into their jobs and they're working overtime and whatnot, that they don't meal prep, they don't eat well, and they are running through fast food lines because they're so busy with their job. But I've even seen coaches who are working 24/7 on coaching, and then they slack completely on their fitness and their nutrition. And so whether it's they're working a day job and they have a family and they're working their coaching business, or they're just so I've even seen coaches that are coaches full time and they've come out and admitted that they've literally sat for like 24 hours for however many months straight online trying to work this business, trying to hit these goals. But if you're doing that, then they're not doing their workouts and they're not eating well. And so they slacken that. So that can be a roadblock too. It's like, do I work out or do I work my business? And you have to choose. And I would tell you being your product or product is more important. So you got to make that time to get your health and well-being going. So don't neglect that. And then what are your business responsibilities? So again, it's those daily, that compound effect of those doing those small things daily that over time add to make a compound effect on things. They seem insignificant, which means they're easy to do and they're very easy not to do. It's easy to send off 3 friend requests. It's also very easy to not send off any friend requests. It's pretty easy to sit down and listen to 10 minutes of personal development or to read. It's also easy not to do that. It's most of you guys all work out anyway, so I don't really think anyone on our team like neglects their workouts. But it's easy to skip a workout. It's easier to sleep in than to drag yourself out of bed when the alarm goes off and go push play. It's easy to, it's not that hard to meal prep, but it's also very easy not to meal prep. So things, and more things within your business, it's easy to do some of the steps on your business activity tracker, and then it's very easy not to do them. It's very easy not to follow up with people. It's very easy not to respond to that email. It's very easy not to track your new contacts. It's all these things are very easy not to do, but they're also pretty easy to do. So again, it's your business responsibilities of figuring out, okay, if I really want to make this, then I have to make sure I'm doing these things, even though these things might seem very minor, posting a couple times a day, but being consistent in posting. So not posting and then not posting for another couple of days, you're not going to build up the same following as if you're posting every single day. So again, a roadblock could be ignoring your business stuff. So neglect, right? So we neglect other areas in our life, like we talked about, because we want to focus on business. So if we sometimes are focusing too much on our business, then we're neglecting maybe our family or our church responsibility or a responsibility that we have at our job or whatever. Or if we are giving too much into our family or our job is taking up all of our time and it's stressing us out and we're working overtime and whatnot, then we're totally neglecting our business because we just say, oh, I don't have time for it or whatever. So when we neglect, it becomes a very breeding ground for being irresponsible. And that is a sour patch. Okay. So in terms of your business, if you skip following up with your potential customers or coaches, if you take too long to reply to an email, if you skip team calls, you never get on a team call, you never listen to even the replay for the national wake-up call, you skip days drinking your Shakeology, you're not connecting with your new coaches, that's being irresponsible in things that you're supposed to do for your business. So when we're given this business, so we're given a responsibility. The moment you sign up as a coach, that's going to work your business, that would like to work the business, you're given this responsibility. So it's irresponsible when you are irresponsible with your business, someone else either pays the price. So maybe your upline is trying to pick up the things and help you out more, or if you're having a team and you're really starting to slack off on your business, then your teammates aren't really getting that leadership that you're responsible for because they entrusted you when, sorry, he's printing something. They entrusted you when they signed up as a coach. So somebody else is at some point suffering or having to pick it up or whatever. And then again, if you're neglecting on the business side, then your income is suffering. Okay, so at home, again, if you're ignoring your family or you're not giving them enough attention, or you're neglecting your household chores, or your finances. So if you're letting your bills and stuff pile up and those kinds of things, because you're so focused on something other than those areas. So this is where balance comes into play. So you need to ask yourself, are you putting too much focus on the business and ignoring other important areas of your life that you've been entrusted? You've been entrusted with your family. You've been entrusted with having a home. You've been entrusted with those things. So are they being completely neglected or too much? Or vice versa, are you completely neglecting your business and you're putting all these other things way above? Not that family isn't important and it doesn't come first. Family comes first. But again, it's finding balance, because again, we know it's very easy to spend 20 minutes if you're focused and knock out your to-do list, or knock out most of the things in your to-do list that are those very small things to do each day. So we need to find our balance as we pursue dreams within this business, and everybody's got a different dream, and it's okay. It's okay to have a really small dream. And it's okay for those, I know there's a few of you on here that really want to do this full time, that can really see yourself doing this full time and bringing in a pretty full-time income. And it's totally possible. But again, everybody's different. So my dream for me and my goals for me are going to be different than what your goals are for yourself. Even if I see that there's so much potential in you guys, if it's not your dream, if it's not your desire, it's not going to happen, because it's not your dream. You're not pushing for it. And I can't make you push for it if that's not what's going to be what you want. And that's totally fine. I'm fine with those who are like, whatever eventually happens with it, it happens with it. And I just want to go at my own thing. Those who want to dabble in just working on themselves, that is totally, like, whatever your goals are, I support. But again, it's just figuring out, you got to figure out that balance. Okay, so he really talked a lot about the difference between entrusted and entitled. And I've seen this with other coaches on other teams too, who have this mentality, oh, I've been coaching for a year, I've been coaching for a year and a half, or I make X amount of money, so I'm entitled. You're not entitled. The more you've been given is the more responsibility you have. And so you need to be responsible with those things that you've been given, right? So we've been entrusted with our business. We have the ability every single day. If we have added followers, if we have people that are following us, if we have people that we are coaching, if we have people that we are leading as coaches, they're on our team, then we have influence on other people. And we have the ability to lead others and to make a difference. So we have been entrusted with that awesome opportunity and that awesome responsibility. So it's not that we've been entitled. It doesn't mean, oh, I teach a fitness class, I'm entitled to something. No. So it's a mindset of entitlement versus what's being entrusted into us. So we've been entrusted into this opportunity, so we have to be responsible with that. And especially for those who do have coaches underneath them or do have customers underneath them, if you really start to slack on your coaching and you slack on helping your customers, they've trusted in you, which is why they went through you. So we're doing them a disservice. It would be the same thing if they were to go to the gym and they paid a personal trainer or a nutritionist, and that person completely slacked, didn't show up for the times that they're supposed to train them, didn't show up for their one-on-one meetings to go over their nutrition, or just copied and pasted a a cookie cutter meal plan for every single person that walked in the door. That's not being responsible either. So we've been entrusted with this business. So are we posting uplifting messages each day, or are we being really negative and bringing our audience down? Are we sharing the opportunity, or are we portraying the negative sides? So in the beginning, there are some negative sides. There are, again, you're putting more time in than you're seeing money out. But that's like anything. Again, if you were to go start up a regular company, you would have to put in a lot of money to get a storefront and to get a sign and to get merchandise in the door. And then you have a big overhead, and you're probably not going to make that in your first few months opening the door. You're going to have a lot of debt, right? So you're putting in all that time before you can even hire a ton of employees. You're putting in that time more than you're seeing the benefit, but that will come over time in your business. Same thing with coaching. So, if you're showing the negative sides of everybody says no, or everybody says they don't have the money, or everybody whatever, and you just get so frustrated and whatever, and you're portraying that, then you're basically telling people this isn't going to work for you. And so customers aren't going to come to you because they're like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't buy that, or maybe I shouldn't try that workout or Shakeology. Or coaches are going to be like, oh, that sounds like, that doesn't sound very fun. I don't want to join that person's team. So just keep that in mind when you're posting things. And I know we all have bad days and we all get frustrated, and it's normal. But just think, if you were to read this on somebody else's wall that you were following, and maybe you were interested in their opportunity, would you continue to follow that person? Would you continue to want to pursue that person's opportunity if they were being more negative in their posting? So most of the time, I don't think it's really anyone on our team, but I do see other coaches. And yes, we have freedom of speech. But again, if you have a lot of trouble with people, in your day-to-day life, and the person that cuts you off, you shouldn't jump on social media and throw it out there. Now, maybe you had a negative experience, or you were going through something, you were just in a bad mood, and you did something positive that turned it around. You can totally share that because people relate to that. Nobody wants everybody that's like perfect and never has a bad day. But if you're just like, this so-and-so mother, blah, 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 cut me off, blah, 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 that I'm not going to want to follow that person. That's not somebody that I would really want to follow. So I'm probably going to delete them off of Facebook. Or I'm going to hide all of their posts so I don't see it in my newsfeed. So just keep that in mind when you do post, or when something bad happens, your first reaction shouldn't be, let me grab my phone and put it out there. Think about it first. Okay, so ask yourself these questions. What have I been entrusted with? And this could be business-wise and family-wise. So realize what you've been entrusted with to serve, and entrusted with in terms of influencing other people, and including your family. And then how can I be more responsible? Do I need to step up my game a little bit? Do I need to get back to the basics and go through my to-do list better, right? And block out between this time and this time I'm going to do these things. Then during this little break later in the day, I'm going to do these things on my list. And then this time at night, I'm going to do these things. And then adjusting your priorities. So everybody's got a different priority, whether in terms of business and in terms of family, and in terms of outside responsibilities that you have, those who are involved in their church and stuff. Everybody's got different priorities, and other responsibilities. And then how can I build up my relationships more? So again, connecting with people. And it can be already some of your good friends that maybe you just haven't spent as much time with, or you've kind of neglected responding to their texts or their phone calls. That would be a good time to say, okay, this week I'm going to sit down. Or maybe you say, all right, at least once a week, I'm going to get together with a girlfriend for coffee, or I'm going to go get together and have a kid play date or whatever, take our kids to the park or something. So being more responsible with what we have already been given, business-wise, family life-wise, job life, and just in life-wise, everything. Was that it? I could have sworn I had one more. Okay, so we want to dig into your why. Again, your why is going to be different, and your why should really motivate you. This is why I tell people to print it off, and some people put it as their screensaver background so they always see it. They put it as their phone screensaver background so they always see it. Every time they log into their phone, it's there to remind them, because there are nights where you're exhausted. You've had a really long day and you haven't gotten to your to-do list yet. There are days when you've been working really hard at your business and you're just frustrated. And I've been there and I totally get it. And there needs to be more reason than I want to be in shape or I want to help people. That's great, but that's not enough to, if you're so exhausted and you're so frustrated, I want to help people isn't probably going to motivate you enough to keep going, to put in another extra 30 minutes, or to get up, to go to bed and get up early the next day and start all over again. There needs to be a really strong driving force. So in the beginning, your goal may not be as big. Like for me, my goal for my last few months in my job, before I even turned in my notice to my job, I was stressed to the max. It was affecting my health. I was mentally going crazy. I was the most miserable I think I've ever been. And I was like, I need out. And so I did leave my job earlier. I was hoping to leave by the end of the summer, financially wise. But it was I had to weigh it, and it was killing me. And so I had a breakdown, and I had to talk with him and my parents, and I had to just say, I have to get out, because if I don't, I might not make it through the summer. And so I had to leave. And so those last 2 months before I even made that decision to leave my job, I worked, I don't even know, this fuel inside of me pushed me so much harder than I had already been working, even though I knew I wanted to do this full time. But it was like fight or flight, gotta go. And I worked crazy hard during this in the spring, and I pushed. And so my income showed it, my team growth showed it, all these things showed it. So then when I did have my breakdown and I did put in my notice, it was like, okay, I've advanced myself faster to be able to leave income-wise instead of waiting to the end of the summer, even though I wasn't quite where I needed to be yet to replace what I was making at the center, but it was what I needed to do. So it has to be something that motivates you, right? I was like, okay, crap, I need to get out now. I have these bills that I have to pay. I have to do something. I have to work. So what was I doing? I didn't sleep. And I know a lot of coaches do this as they are trying to quit their full-time jobs, and it gets to that point. So I don't ever recommend it, but I understand when we do go through these little phases. So I woke up at 4 every day. I spent 15, 25 minutes online. I would go to the gym for 5 o'clock. I would work out. I would teach my 6 o'clock class. I would come back. I'd probably go do one of the DVDs, whichever one I was doing. I would shower. I would get him his lunch made. I would get him his breakfast. I would sit down and I would work for 3 hours straight. Then I would go to my day job. And then even at my day job, I would be on my phone and I would be working. Then I would come home and I would either work again for the next several hours. I would have dinner and then just work until 11:30 at night every night or midnight, or I would teach my night class. And then I wouldn't get back on the computer until 9 o'clock after that. And I worked until midnight. And then I got up at 4 and I did that. And I worked crazy, but I was pursuing this goal. That was what was my motivation. So everyone's going to find their own motivation and what their why is. So I don't encourage it, but if it's coming down to that last little bit and you need that push for a little bit, I understand it. And then your why is going to change. Like when I first started, I didn't really believe that I wanted to do this full time, but I didn't believe that I could. And so again, it was like, okay, I just want to make enough to pay off my Shakeology. I just want to make enough to pay off some bills, that kind of a thing. And then as I grew and as I grew and as my business grew, my why really changed. And so then it was like, I can do this. I'm going to make this happen. I want to leave this job. And so that became my bigger motivation. So it's going to continue to evolve over time. Okay, so are you happy with your current business situation? And it's going to be different for all of you. Again, it's where you're at with what you want your business to be. So if no, what can you change? And if you are happy, is there anything that can still be improved to make it even better? How are things with your family front? Do you need to make specific business hours and keep them? And those are your business hours, and you're going to honor that you chose those times, and that's it. And you're only going to work during those times. Maybe you need to, if your house is being really neglected and you're trying to find balance, maybe you need to choose a different chore each day of the week. Growing up, we had a job chart, and every day we had a specific chore that we had to do. And then our chores rotated throughout every week. We get to switch them up. But every day we came home from school, we had a specific chore that we had to do. So 1 room a day or something in your house. Designate times that you're spending one-on-one with each child or with your spouse. If, between these hours, I'm going to focus on this, or between these hours, this is me and him time, or whatever. Maybe you need to make coffee dates weekly or bi-weekly with friends to reconnect those relationships. So create balance, and that will look different for each of you guys. So this is a way that you can enjoy your sweet spot of pursuing something that makes you really happy, pursuing something that you believe to be your dream and that you're going to work towards for whatever goal you're reaching, but you're still not going to neglect your family, your health, or your friendships and your job and all that. So you're your own CEO, and you should want to be the coach that you wish you had. And then just as you're trying to figure all this out, why you love this opportunity. Is it for helping others? Does it help you stay accountable to your own fitness? Is it helping you pay off certain bills? Is it the possibility of freedom that it allows? Is it the vast other possibilities that it brings? Is it the friendships and the different people that it brings into your life that you never would have had? Like most of you guys on this team, I would never have met. Thank God for social media coaching, because then I wouldn't have you awesome people in my life, right? And the same with the relationships that I've built with other coaches on Team Powerhouse, but just in the relationships that I've built with the new people that I add on Facebook as potential customers and my customers that I have had. I wouldn't trade those friendships for the world. Maybe it's the passion and purpose that this now brings you that you do. So I challenge you guys to figure out where you want your business to go and what are your sour patches that you're trying to deal with right now, and how can we establish balance. And if you're really struggling, like I would love to do a phone call with each of you if you really wanted to help you figure out what is a really good system for you to follow in terms of creating balance so that everybody is happy and you don't feel like you're always dropping the ball somewhere, because I know that that can happen. So stop share. And so we have like a minute left, a little bit more than a minute left. I hope that that was helpful. I know that everybody's on a different journey and has different goals in this business, and I completely respect it. It is your business, and I want for you what you want for you. But I also don't want you guys to feel like you're in this crazy, crazy, crazy juggling act, which you're still going to be in a little bit, but if you can find and create a little bit more balance for yourself, it just makes it more enjoyable to pursue your career without dropping family and other stuff. So I hope that this was helpful. I don't know if you guys have anything you want to add to it. I thank you for getting on. It's probably going to like cut us off in 30 seconds. I wish it did like a timer or a countdown. It just leaves it at a minute until it cuts off. But yeah, so any last words or anything, ladies? If not, then I will just wish you a good night. Deborah, you put